Hello, 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 hello. It's your boy. We're back again. Yesterday, I think around like midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, we read Genesis 4. And Genesis 4, basically, that was talking about Adam and Eve having Cain and Abel and Seth and, Cain killing Abel. And it also talked about some of Cain's descendants and how the sin of man was perpetually getting worse as the generations of man continued on. Anyway, we're going to start Genesis chapter 5 right now. This is a very short one. It's only 32 verses. So let's get started. Genesis 5:1. Here is the genealogy of Adam. On the day that God created man, he made him in the likeness of God. He created them male and female. He blessed them and called them Adam, humankind, or man, on the day they were created. After Adam lived 130 years, he fathered a son like himself and named him Shet. After Shet was born, Adam lived another 800 years and had both sons and daughters. So here we see, in all, Adam lived 930 years and then he died. So Adam lived 930 years. It's almost about 1,000. It's almost 1,000 years. When he was 130 years old, he had his third son, Seth. Now, I've read and watched videos that say that the ages in the Bible, especially the ones in Genesis, aren't actually their true ages. They're more of like, it's more symbolic. I don't know how true that is. I believe that, if God wanted to make man live 930 years, then that's going to happen. Not only that, but if God says that there's an eternity for us, right, where we live forever, then living 930 years doesn't seem like too long of a time for somebody to live, especially back in the day. Adam was the first man, so he didn't have other people around to get him into any other crazy sins that he had. The only one thing that God said not to do at that point in time was not eating from the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. That was the one thing that God said not to do, and that was the one sin that Adam committed. So I'm sure there were more sins that he committed, along the way, but the Bible tells us that was the only one thing that, that was the one major thing that humans had to worry about not doing. And then we see Cain murdering for the first time, so there's another sin. Lamech taking two wives, instead of being satisfied with the one that God gave him, whichever one that would be. So just pay attention to all of that stuff. All right, Genesis 5:6. Shet lived 105 years and fathered Enosh. After Enosh was born, Shet lived another 807 years and had sons and daughters. In all, Shet lived 912 years, then he died. Enosh lived 90 years and fathered Canaan. After Canaan was born, Enosh lived another 815 years and had sons and daughters. In all, Enosh lived 905 years, then he died. Canaan lived 70 years and fathered Mahalalel. After Mahalalel was born, Canaan lived another 840 years and had sons and daughters. In all, Canaan lived 910 years, then he died. Mahalalel lived 65 years and fathered Yared. After Yared was born, Mahalalel lived another 830 years and had sons and daughters. In all, Mahalalel lived 895 years, then he died. Yared lived 162 years and fathered Hanok. After Hanok was born, Yared lived 800 years and had sons and daughters. In all, Yared lived 962 years, then he died. Hanok lived 65 years and fathered Methuselah. After Methuselah was born, Hanok walked with God 300 years and had sons and daughters. In all, Hanok lived 365 years. Hanok walked with God, and then he wasn't there because God took him. So Hanok apparently is the way that Hebrews would have said Enoch, right? And through years and years of language changes and language going to different countries, and countries, different languages not being able to pronounce certain sounds and stuff like that, to us it's become Enoch. So the names do sound weird, don't get me wrong, but it's just it's how this man David Stern, who did this translation, wrote them down. And then with the little Hebrew knowledge that I have about how things are supposed to be sounded, I'm doing my best to say it as accurate as I can. Alrighty, going on to Genesis 5:25. Methuselah lived 187 years and fathered Lamech. Now, this is a different Lamech than Cain's descendant Lamech. After Lamech was born, Methuselah lived 782 years and had sons and daughters. In all, Methuselah lived 969 years, then he died. Lamech lived 182 years and fathered a son, whom he called Noach, which is restful. For he said, "This one will comfort us in our labor, in the hard work we do with our hands, to get what comes from the ground that Adonai cursed." After Noach was born, Lamech lived 595 years and had sons and daughters. In all, Lamech lived 777 years, then he died. Noach was 500 years old, and Noach fathered Shem, Ham, and Yafet. So that was Genesis 5. It's just genealogies. So we've got Adam, and then we have Seth, and then we have Enosh, and then we have Canaan. That's 4. Then we have Mahalalel, we have Yared, we have Hanok, we have Methuselah, we have Lamech, and then we have Noach. So that's 10 generations from Adam to Noah. And in that 10 generations, we've got people living hundreds of years. So, I don't think that there's too much that, we can meditate on, apart from the fact that man used to live for a very long time. What happened? In Genesis 6, I think either 6 or 7, we'll find out what happened and why people aren't living as long. But I'm going to, since we're at Genesis 5, I think what I'm going to do is every 5 chapters, I'm going to go back, get all of the commands that we've read from God to man. This point too, I might even start a timeline. That way we can see what's all going down. We can also get a genealogy list, and like a big family tree or something like that, so we can see what's going down. Now I know that there are a lot of different Bibles and different translations that actually have this already, and the one that I ordered that I told you guys about already has all of that stuff. But I don't know, there's just something about doing it myself, that makes me feel closer to God, because I'm using my knowledge to make something to help explain His Word. So that's what I think I'm going to do, but that's probably going to take a little time. I probably should get started on it here soon, and I think that's what I'm going to do. Anyway, you guys meditate on Genesis 5, Genesis 4, 3, 2, and 1. Think about it all, and then later on today in the evening, we're going to talk about Genesis 6. So, you guys have a wonderful day, and I will see you later.